Ladies, gentlemen, and colleagues, hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining us in this online international conference organized by ICRLSH and Healthcare Biological Sciences Research Association. My name is Nasser Drareni. I'm Professor of English Specific Purposes in Different Sciences at University of Blida2 in Algeria. I would like to commend my gratitude to Eurasia Research and the organizers of the meeting today, who invited me as keynote speaker in order to share our scientific experiences and the knowledge on medical education using active learning. Today, we're going to present a paper titled Using Concept Mapping as an Effective Strategy to Promote Meaningful Learning of Medical Terminology in Coronavirus Disease, Case University of Medicine, Algiers, Algeria. The outlines of the presentation are divided into the following three main parts. At first, background. At second, research methods. And at last, results and conclusions. As usual, we'd like to start the presentation with a map to show the salient elements of our study, and then we'll ask our fundamental question. As you know, and as can you see from the map, it's clear to us the difficulties and challenges of learning and teaching and also improving meaningful learning in a field of medical terminology of COVID-19 due to several obstacles such as, first, understanding medical terminology involves breaking words down into their separate components of prefix, suffix, and root word, and having a good working knowledge of those parts. It includes the study of medical terms and medical abbreviations, symbols, and Greek and Latin word part meanings. Second element, so to understand and interpret meaningfully medical words in COVID-19, it's important to learn how to dissect them into their basic elements such as prefixes, roots, suffixes, symbols, abbreviations, etc. In this way, medical learners, future doctors, must be very precise when dictating, determining, and explaining a medical term. Third element, medical terminology in COVID-19 prepares medical learners with language skills necessary for learning effective oral communication skills. So our fundamental question is how concept mapping could be used to promote meaningful learning in medical terms related to COVID-19. So I will return to our answer at the end of our presentation. Right now, let's move into our first part, our background, characterized by three elements as follows. First element, what is medical terminology for COVID-19? Can look and sound complex and understand their roots, prefixes, and suffixes to prevent any mistakes. Second element, what is meaningful learning refers to the acquisition and application of new knowledge. Finally, what is concept mapping? Concept mapping is a technique that encourages medical learners to learn in a meaningful learning and preserve prior and new knowledge. Right now, let's move into our second part, research methods, characterized by five elements as follows. First element, our aim. This study aims to provide an introduction of concept mapping as an effective strategy. Second element, implication for medical terminology COVID-19 as an influential technique to promote meaningful learning of the essential concepts that includes the ability to find and use appropriate learning resources meaningfully. Third element, data collected. Participants were fourth-year medical learners 40 from the University of Medicine Algiers, so they were randomly divided into two groups of 20. One group attending the traditional program, the other one the innovative program by using the three instruments pre-post tests, the average normalized gain G to evaluate the level of meaningful learning. And finally, the 10-item question about using concept mapping in medical terminology related to COVID-19. Fourth element, our subjects. The subjects focus on a range of topics related to COVID-19, such as, or from medical terminology related to COVID-19, viruses and diseases, virology, biology, anatomy of heart, anatomy and physiology of respiratory system, anatomy and physiology of the circulatory system, pneumonia, coronavirus disease as a disease, radiology, chronic diseases such as cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and acute respiratory, level of critical health literacy, big health data and analysis, artificial intelligence, risk factors for cardiovascular disease, and finally, industry 4.0 in pharmaceutical industry, vaccine, last element of our research methods about our procedures. So the learning process is based on three broad stages of the implementation of concept mapping in a field of COVID-19 in order to develop meaningful learning as follows. First step, determine domain knowledge and then context, and finally, identification of key and specific concepts that apply to the domain knowledge in medical terminology related to COVID-19. So, the learning process is shown schematically in figure number 1, characterized by three elements. First, help our medical learners to recognize and identify different medical term in COVID-19 from certainly the topics, and after that using our process of learning using concept maps to determine different types of criteria of meaningful learning skills, and finally learners learning outcomes. So learners or medical learners will be able to decipher, recognize, analyze, name, apply new medical terms using word analysis, and through several application activities of concept maps in medical terminology of COVID-19 or of corona virus disease. So finally, let's move into our last elements of our presentation related to results and discussion, characterized by four elements as follows. First element about our results. Medical learners indicated a positive attitude to concept maps and perceived it as a resource for meaningful learning and lifelong learning in medical terminology related to COVID-19. Second element about our discussion. Medical terminology COVID-19 start and continue to be challenging for many medical learners because of its intrinsic complexity, updating information data, knowledge, and volume of specific and general terminology. Third element, our conclusions. So medical learners becoming familiar with medical terminology in COVID-19 is like learning new language with new skills. Finally, and last element, our recommendations using more than innovative methods such as concept maps alone and mix it with other active learning such as problem-based learning and team-based learning to enhance their meaningful learning in a field of variants of the virus SARS-CoV-2. So in the end, we'll find all references and information with all data and procedures of the study using concept maps in the field of COVID-19 in order to promote meaningful learning. Finally, thank you very much for your attention.